So yeah, my day started as usual. I was awoken by the bells. Finding myself in another fine morning in the capital city of color grey, I calmly tried to come to life. I put on my white Kodak t-shirt, I put on my white Kodak t-shirt and was ready to start my day. But before committing to Blender for a few hours, I decided to make myself a breakfast first. Grilled veggies and sausages, the timeless classic. While eating breakfast, I caught up on latest YouTube gaming videos, and after that it was time to make myself a nice cup of coffee. I continued on with my morning routine of following up the news and was finally ready to tackle the modeling. Today I am creating low poly art style assets for a new bridge level. As usual, I start with research, in part to get the creative juices going, and in part, as in this case, because I'm not an architect. So it's almost always a good idea to take a closer look at what exactly goes into a complex structure, such as the bridge, you know? What I want to do here is to distill it into just the basic shapes and elements. We don't need useless geometry and detail. In fact, we don't need anything useless at all. Everything must have its place and purpose. That's why I like to go by the Chekhov's gun principle. If there is a gun hanging on the wall in the first act, it must fire in the last. Chekhov, being a master of the short story, knew exactly that. If it's not essential, don't include it in the story. In other words, if you're still on a gun analogy, if it's not going to be fired, it shouldn't be hanging there. The parts we're gonna focus today are the deck, towers, suspender cables, and of course, lamp poles. So of all the bridges, I think I'm gonna go with the Golden Gate Bridge, as a general shape and feel for my level. I like the seeming simplicity of its construction, and it's just the right size too, giving me additional reference point. As for the road itself, I decided that I'll be going with multiple lanes in both directions. The big idea for this level is scale and atmosphere. I want the player to feel the massiveness of the environment, and with a generous amount of lighting I hope to bring out that specific feeling I'm going for. And because this is supposed to be an ambiguous world, somewhere between reality and fantastic, I don't want to follow construction and plausibility conventions to the T. That's why I'm thinking about adding a grass separator or even a small garden between the traffic directions. The same goes for the style of the bridge. If I'm gonna just copy an existing design, it would feel too grounded. But if I'll mix it up, go with an eclectic style, then I hope it would elicit just the right emotions I'm going for. While trying to find a suitable shape and look for the towers of the bridge, I stumbled upon this Eastern-inspired arc design, which I immediately liked for this level. My approach to deciding which level to make next for the game is entirely based off what I consider a captivating location. Captivating in the sense that it is an unusual place to have a golf game in, such as a rooftop or in this case a bridge. And although the game I'm making only takes a small inspiration from the golfing genre while going in a completely different direction, this still rings true. Over the course of this video, you may notice that almost every element of the bridge is made and remade a number of times before getting it just right. I like to prototype straight in 3D, but it also really helps to get the idea on paper first, with some quick pencil sketches. At this point, the basics of the bridge are almost all handled, and I decide to play around with lighting and atmosphere density inside the Blender, just to have a feel of how everything is coming together. I consider this a huge time saver, cause I can quickly iterate on things without recreating everything in Unity. It also allows me to look at the geometry under different conditions, which frequently gives me ideas on what I can improve. After I'm done with the initial version of the bridge itself, I decided to quickly jump in and create a couple of different roadblock elements that will come into play later in Unity. This A block gave me some trouble, cause I needed to think ahead on how to import this mesh into the game and make it fully collidable. Being able to play around with a myriad of physics objects is a huge part and appeal of the game. Well, at least for me. And yeah, those human models are there just for scale. At this point I realized that some parts of the bridge are not proportionally thick enough, so I went ahead and fixed that. Now, when I take a look at the whole bridge model together, I noticed that the towers, aka pylons, are just too simple. So what I've done is went and added a sort of a lip to the arc, which gave it much needed definition. A small detail, but it makes a huge difference. This is what I like the most about any design. Little things that play big part. You know, like they say, the devil lies in the details. The next 30 minutes were spent playing with different secondary and tertiary shapes, but I kinda already felt a little bit too tired for experiments. So I scrapped it all, did a minor retopology job and moved on to the less crucial object no bridge is complete without, the lamp poles. I will most definitely return to complete this level, maybe even rework some parts from the ground up, but for the time being I'm really happy with the progress made today. Also an obvious tip, but save often and always save to a new file. Being able to come back to earlier versions of your work saved my ass more than once. In the past I've already done a few semi-completed levels for the game, but as the direction of the game still changes, I guess this could be the first one I will finish completely. Hey, a quick rice lantern, not really much more to it. Okay, so continuing with the theme, I took some more inspiration from the Eastern culture, trying to create lampposts that would work with the overall look of the pylons. The more modern minimalistic designs just didn't seem to fit. And as usual I tried a couple of different designs. I'm now thinking of making this a night level, so the shape of the light will matter a lot and both of these give a completely different look. So this is almost a full day of modeling and prototyping for me. Now for some finishing touches, a bit more objects to populate the scene, and I guess we're done. Tomorrow I'll be ready to import this scene inside of Unity and go from there, so stay tuned for more videos. Meanwhile, thank you all for watching, don't forget to check out the links below, like, follow, comment, slap, and I'll see you next time!